Hello everyone, I am here with a new topic, Rise of Nationalism in Europe. In continuation with the journey of revolution that brought many changes in the society, I am going to take it forward and will talk about many of the nation states which came during 19th and 20th centuries. After watching this video, you will be able to understand that what is nationalism and how it is different from patriotism. How French Revolution brought the sense of nationalism among the people of France. Emergence of Napoleon Bonaparte helped to unify various principalities in Europe. Frederick Seurat, a French artist, represented idea of nationalism through his paintings. One of the painting is here in the background, shows the people of Europe and America marching in a long train, offering homage to the Statue of Liberty as they pass it. The torch of enlightenment was carried by a female figure in one hand and the Charter of Rights of Men in the other. On the earth is the foreground lie the shattered remain of the symbols of absolutist institutions. Seurat's utopian vision, the people of the world are grouped as a distinct nation identified through their flags and costumes. We usually understand and define nationalism as a feeling of oneness and common consciousness that emerges when people living in a common territory share the same historical, political, and cultural backgrounds. People may be having different languages, dialects, cultural differences, as in case of India, but the love for the nation keep them together. If we go back to the mid 18th century and look for the nations as we know them today, we would not be able to find them at that time. Nations did not exist in the modern form. People lived in kingdoms, small states, principalities, cantons, not within the nation or the country. The rise of nationalism in the world started during French Revolution in 1789, which played a key role in the birth of nation state across Europe. Let's find out that what kind of society was there in Europe during 19th century, and we are going to find out that they were the privileged and non-privileged, even underprivileged also. The society was divided into two groups, the upper class and the lower class. The upper class, they were having huge lands and were the dominant groups. They had common interests and lifestyle, owned large country estates and townhouses. Most of them spoke French. So we are going to see a unifying factor over there that they were having common interest. They used to speak French. They were connected to each other through matrimonial alliances. Whereas the lower class, which was non-privileged one, majority of them were peasants. They were landless and worked as serfs in others' fields. France was a full-fledged territorial state in 1789 under the rule of an absolute monarch. The political and the constitutional changes that came in the wake of French Revolution led to the transfer of sovereignty from monarchy to a body of French citizens. The revolution proclaimed that it was the people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its destiny steps taken by the French revolutionaries. La Patrie and La Citoyenne. These have given common identity to the French citizens. A centralized administrative system was put in place and it formulated uniform laws for all citizens within its territory. Internal custom duties and dues were abolished. A uniform system of weights and measure was adopted. Regional dialects were discouraged. French, as it was spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the nation. When the news of the events in France reached the cities of Europe, students and other members of educated middle class began setting up Jacobean clubs. Their activities, campaign, prepared the way for the French armies which moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland and much of Italy in 1790s. With the outbreak of revolutionary wars, the French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad. The rise of Napoleon as a monarch destroyed the ideas that emerged during the French Revolution, but in administrative field he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and effective. The Napoleonic Code is also called Civil Code of 1804 defined the concept of equality before the law, secured the right to property. This code abolished the feudal system and freed peasants from serfdom and manorial dues, as well as improvement in transport and communication systems. The prime objective of this code was to simplify all laws and systemize them into a single document. This code was spread to the regions under French control. The state like the Dutch Republic in Switzerland, in Italy, and Germany also adopted the Napoleon's simplified administrative vision. Ideals of Napoleonic Code. The Napoleonic Code was based on three ideals of French Revolution, which are given here. Laws should be based on reason and common sense. All men should be treated equal under law. People should have certain freedoms. As I told you earlier, that it was till the mid of 18th century there was no concept of nation state in Europe. Society and politics was dominated by aristocracy. Germany, Italy, Switzerland were divided into kingdoms, duchies, cantons, whose ruler had their autonomous territories, while in Eastern and Central Europe they were under autocratic monarchies within the territories which lived diverse people. Emergence of working and middle class due to industrialization in 19th century. Educated, liberal middle class popularized abolition of aristocratic privileges, which gave birth to the nationalism in Europe. The aristocracy was the dominant class of the continent politically and socially. Most of the population was made up of peasantry. Industrialization began in England in the second half of 18th century. New social groups came into being, a working class population and middle classes made up of industrialists, businessmen and professionals. It was among the educated liberal middle classes the idea of national unity following abolition of aristocratic privileges gained popularity. So let us understand what did liberal nationalism stands for. The term liberalism derives from the Latin root liber, means free. The right to vote and to get elected was granted exclusively to property owning men without property, and all women were excluded from political rights. It was in 1834 A custom union or Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Prussia and joined by most of the German states. The union abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from over 30 to 10. So this is the map of Europe during the time of Napoleon Bonaparte. He has extended the boundary of France to various parts and where the administrative reforms were being introduced. As Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo and after that Congress of Vienna Assembly in 1814 and 15 that recognized Europe after the Napoleonic Wars. It began in September 1814, 5 months after Napoleon's first abdication, and completed its final act in June 1815, shortly before the Waterloo campaign, the final defeat of Napoleon. The settlement was most comprehensive treaty that Europe have ever seen. In 1815, European governments were driven by a spirit of conservatism. Conservatives believed in monarchy, the church, social hierarchies, property, and the family should be preserved. A modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudalism, serfdom, could strengthen the autocratic monarchies of Europe. In 1815, representatives of European power, Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria met in Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe. The Bourbon dynasty was restored to the power. France lost the territories it annexed under Napoleon. Major issues were taken up by liberal nationalists who criticized the new conservative orders was freedom of press. So here you are able to see that the France was being reduced and some of the areas, part of Italy was given to Austrian Empire. Bourbon dynasty was re-established. A new kingdom was created where the Belgium was given to Netherlands. Some part of Poland was given to Russia. In 1815, secret societies were formed in many European states to train revolutionaries and spread their ideas. Revolutionaries opposed monarchical forms fight for liberty and freedom. The Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini, born in Genoa in 1807, founded two underground societies. First, Young Italy in Marseille. Second, he founded Young Europe in Bern, whose members were like-minded young men from Poland, France, Italy, and German states.
Nationalism in Europe. In this module, you learn about the rise of nationalism in Europe. Nationalism refers to the sense of having a common national identity and history among the citizens of a nation. Nationalism began in Europe with the French Revolution in 1789 and resulted in the emergence of a nation-state in which a centralized body elected by the citizens has the sovereign control over a defined territory. Prior to the Revolution, France was a monarchy. However, during the Revolution, many nationalist ideas such as la patrie or the fatherland and les citoyens or the citizens were introduced to create a sense of collective identity and equal rights amongst the citizens. As the ideas of the French Revolution spread across Europe, many students and educated members of the middle class who were inspired by these events began setting up Jacobin clubs all over Europe. The activities of these clubs paved the way for the French armies to move into other European states and spread nationalist ideas in the invaded states. The French armies also carried many administrative reforms in the states that came under their control. For example, the Civil Code of 1804, called the Napoleonic Code, which banned all privileges based on birth and established equality before law and the right to property, was exported to the states under the French control. By the mid-18th century and the early 19th century, the spread of industrialization to all parts of Europe brought about ideas of liberalism. Liberalism meant freedom and equality for all individuals and a government by consent. However, liberalism did not apply to the concept of universal suffrage, with voting rights being restricted to propertied men. Liberalism also meant the free movement of men and material across different regions. This led to the spread of economic nationalism that enhanced mobility and sharing of economic and social interest, which in turn led to a national unification. However, after the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, the representatives of Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria met at Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe through the Treaty of Vienna. The main intention of the treaty was to restore the overthrown monarchies and to set up a new conservative order in Europe. However, the regimes set up were aristocratic and did not tolerate criticism, and they imposed a censorship on the ideas of liberalism and freedom. This led to the setting up of secret societies by the liberal nationalists to spread the idea of nationalism and liberalism all over Europe. For example, the Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini founded two secret societies, Young Italy in Marseilles and Young Europe in Bern, with a vision of a democratic Republic of Italy. Nationalist tension during that time was most serious in the Balkans region